Hey folks, welcome to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here. Glad you joined us today. We're going to have a great show. Our friend and colleague, Dr. Chris Blevins, is here to talk about equine vaccine strategies. Thanks for watching Doc Talk, and more right after this message.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Dr. Blevins, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
It's great to have Dr. Chris Blevins. You all have seen him before here on the show. He's a great asset to not only Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine and our vet students, but also a great asset to the equine practice, to the equine industry, and to our profession. And I just appreciate all that you do. He's an associate professor here, and he's the head of our equine ambulatory services at the Veterinary Health Center. Yep. See a lot of horses, teach a lot of students, and we're going to talk something about that's probably one of the most common things you're asked is vaccines.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. How does the body, or how do horses' bodies respond to vaccines?
You know, I think that's an interesting question, and something that probably a lot of owners, if they would understand vaccines, they would be able to implement more vaccine strategies in their own farms. And so how vaccines work are that vaccines are a foreign body for the horse, and so you inject this foreign substance into the horse's system, and they react to it. And a lot of times, based on their immune system, and it's just like you or I, if we get vaccines, it can make them sore and those things, periodically, but it allows for antibodies and other spots of the immune system to respond, and then if they get insulted with the actual disease, they can fight off that disease. And so it doesn't happen like necessarily right when you give the vaccines. Now they're protected. It usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks if it's just a booster, and sometimes longer if they've never seen that vaccine before. It could be out to a month to 2 months before they're then fully protected.
So basically, we're just giving them the pathogen or the bacteria or the virus either killed or changed, giving it to them just like they would be exposed to the disease in a small amount enough that doesn't make them sick, but a big enough amount that they form the immune response against it.
Right, and that's why a lot of these vaccine companies, it takes a lot of work to make those vaccines, because they have to have that kind of happy medium on making sure that we get what we need out of the vaccine for the horse.
Yeah, without causing the disease. So
right.
The one thing that you made comment there that I think is important for people to understand is if you give a vaccine, it doesn't give you protection tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, and that's what a lot of people, they'll give a vaccine to a horse, then they got a horse show, so they're going to go right to the horse show the next day. And then the horse gets sick or something, if it's some kind of respiratory deal, more likely. And then they're saying, well, I just vaccinated my horse. I should be protected from that disease. But you have to remember, the body, it's not like instantaneous. The body has to respond to that vaccine.
Yep. And I think that make sure you work with your local practitioner. Make sure that you understand that no vaccine's 100%.
Yeah.
And that there's a delay to it.
Right, exactly right.
Cool. Well, we'll take a break. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We always appreciate y'all watching Doc Talk. When we come back, we're going to talk about the core vaccine strategies and some of the risk-based vaccine strategies for horses. You're watching Doc Talk. More in a minute.
This Meet the Future Veterinarian is brought to you by Zuprevo. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Megan Thompson grew up on a farm in Minnesota. Her dad, a farmer, and her uncle, a dairy veterinarian, influenced her decision to become a veterinarian. She always wanted to provide top-notch care for livestock while keeping the food supply safe. Megan will be starting her career with the Harmony Cresco Veterinary Clinics in Minnesota, focusing on dairy and beef cattle production medicine. Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Doc Talk, brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Chris Blevins, who is an associate clinical professor here at Kansas State University's Department of Clinical Sciences, where he serves as the head of equine ambulatory services for the Veterinary Health Center. And when we left, we really did a nice job. I thought you did a nice job of talking about how vaccines work, but let's jump into some of those vaccines. And I understand there are core vaccines and then there are risk-based vaccines, and this is established by who?
So it's established by the American Association of Equine Practitioners, so a kind of tendency board or a gathering of equine veterinarians or a group organization that came up with this based on a task that they put together, a task management system, and found these are what we should, as veterinarians, recommend for horses based on different situations. And how they broke them down is the core vaccines versus risk-based vaccines. So two separate groups of vaccines for the horse. And when we talk about core vaccines, those are every horse in the United States should get these vaccines. And so no matter what they're doing, these are the vaccines that are very important for the horse, even if they're out in a pasture by themselves. And so with those core vaccines, that would be tetanus, equine encephalitides, so eastern and western equine encephalomyelitis.
Yep.
Those are two of them there. And then you have West Nile.
Yep.
And rabies. And so those are, every horse in the U.S. should get those vaccines.
And so let's talk a little bit. You know, tetanus has been one of those vaccines that other species don't get.
Right.
But horses seem to be extremely sensitive to tetanus infections and tetanus issues.
Right, and that is something that's very crucial to making sure that we keep them up to date on. They're more sensitive than us as people. We get tetanus vaccines, but not as frequent as horses do. And so they are more sensitive to this disease. And because they're out in dirt, you know, day in, day out, and with any wound or even puncture wound, we have to make sure they're current on their tetanus status.
Cool. And tetanus would be the lockjaw, the what we would typically call, or the layman's term. Eastern and Western. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So Eastern and Western equine encephalomyelitis, those are two viruses that are transmitted by mosquitoes. And so birds can also harbor the disease and then transmit it through mosquitoes to horses. This disease does not go from horse to horse, though. It has to go through a mosquito. And the mosquito doesn't bite at one horse and then go to another horse and bite it. It has to go through a bird system for that. So horses are dead-end hosts with these two types of viruses. And what they show, neurologic signs. Some of them look like they're just sleeping, so that's why it's called sleeping sickness. Is sometimes what you'll hear is a common name, and with that, but really they get depressed, they can get neurologic, stumble, fall down, can't rise, those kind of things.
Cool. Kind of like the West Nile.
Yes.
Very similar in the transfer and the vectors and things to that. But
right.
Rabies, we got to go to a break, but rabies is one that's maybe newer on the list of core.
Yeah.
But something a veterinarian has to give.
Veterinarian has to give that, cause neurologic signs. They get exposed to wildlife every day, so we got to vaccinate them for them.
Thanks. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the risk-based vaccines with Dr. Chris Blevins.
The BQA Tip of the Day, sponsored by Beringer Engelheim Vetmedica Inc.
Hello folks, this is Dr. Nels Lindberg with Animal Medical Center and Production Animal Consultation out of Great Bend, Kansas. Today's BQA Tip of the Day, we're going to visit about sanitation in any sort of processing facility. It's extremely important that we keep our processing facilities very clean, free of any debris and any harm. We want to clean these off every day or after each use. If we don't, we just get buildup of manure, byproducts, we get buildup of especially problematic things like viruses and bacteria. We want to clean it, use some Clorox, dilute Clorox 1 to 10, sanitize these things every day or after each usage so that we prevent spread of disease. Even in particular, such as this little tidbit, you know, this facility, they keep their thermometer there, they keep it in some dilute, keep it sanitized, keep it clean. We want to keep these facilities, again, spick and span. It's very important to our biosecurity success, whether again it's a cow-calf facility, stocker, starter yard, or feed yard. If we don't keep it clean, our animal health outcome will not be what we want it to be. Thank you.
Broadband has become as important to us as highways. That is why Doc Talk is teaming up with NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, and rural broadband companies like Blue Valley Telecommunications in fighting for quality broadband access through the program Smart Rural Communities.
I don't think we have any idea what's coming in the future. I couldn't have imagined 5 years ago what we're doing today. So in 2 years, I would guess there's things we can't imagine that we're going to be doing.
To learn more, visit ntca.org/smart or bluevalley.net.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help?
How can we help?
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 550 AM on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains. We would like to join your management team.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Doc Talk, brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Chris Blevins, and we're both at Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine, where Dr. Blevins serves as the head of the equine ambulatory service here at our teaching hospital and is also an associate professor in the Department of Clinical Sciences. Always great to have you on the show. And we talked about the core vaccines being tetanus, eastern and western encephalitis, rabies, and West Nile.
Yep.
But then there are the risk-based. And what are the risk? What do they base this on that moves it out of a core to a risk-based?
So with risk-based vaccines, it doesn't mean that every horse in the U.S. needs these vaccines. It's going to be based on risk. And so those risks could be geographic location, so where they're located within the United States. Communicable diseases. So are they going to shows and maybe around a lot of other horses would be something else. or maybe what they're used for, breeding, so stallions versus some of the mares, to try to prevent abortion. So all those are different types of things, situations, individual uses of horses that we determine if the risk is high enough where they need to be vaccinated for those diseases.
And this is really something that your veterinarian, is going to understand where you live, what you're going through, and really the point source of information.
You're exactly right. And because horses travel a lot, maybe where you're traveling to, talk with your veterinarian and see if you need to add extra things to those vaccine protocol based on traveling and just competing in different areas or regions.
Never thought of that. So let's get into a couple of these that you had listed. Strangles is one, and the other?
Yeah, strangles, and then like rhino and flu. Those are all three respiratory type diseases that can affect the horse here in the United States. All are based on risk-based vaccines. Some people think that rhino and flu are part of the core vaccines, but not necessarily if they're not around a lot of other horses, because it's just a communicable disease, meaning from horse to horse. And so if they're going to travel into a lot of shows, then we add those flu and rhino type vaccines. Those vaccines also are usually only good for 6 months. And so if they're going to be going to shows, we give it in the spring realm of all the rest of the vaccines, but we may booster them in the fall if they're still going to shows in the fall and winter with those.
And that's with the flu rhino.
Yeah, flu rhino, and with strangles, it's the same thing.
It's a 6 month.
It'd be a 6 month boostering on those if needed. The thing I think that most individuals need to remember about the strangles vaccine is that it can cause other situations. Be careful with that vaccine. Consult with your veterinarian before you use that vaccine, because they can react to the vaccine in very bad ways.
Right, and make sure you give it in the proper, if it's an intranasal, make sure you give it as an intranasal.
Intranasal, yeah.
Yeah. Well, other thoughts on the risk-based vaccines prior to going to commercial?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is making sure you talk to your veterinarian, make a game plan right at the beginning of the year so you know what you need to protect your horse with.
Perfect. Thanks. When we come back, more with Dr. Chris Blevins about when to give these vaccines and to what horses. Thanks for joining us. More after this message.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses in rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery. And so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results with stem cell injections, but at about 3 to 3.5 months, I started to feel better. I started to have less pain and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously.
Healthy cows start with the new Hired Hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher. Get the new Hired Hand for yourself or become a distributor. Visit cowsprayer.com. The new Hired Hand makes healthy cows easy.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome.
Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Chris Blevins, where Dr. Blevins is an associate professor of clinical sciences and the head of our equine ambulatory service here at the teaching veterinary health center. I can't quite transfer names yet, but we have a new name. We're getting there. But Dr. Blevins sees a lot of horses and is around a lot of horses here in the area and sees horses that are referred into the veterinary hospital. We're tickled to death to have him on our faculty, and if you need a good equine veterinarian, he's tops in my book, so give us a call. Let's talk about the timing of the vaccines, okay? What's the difference in some of the vaccines, when we're going to give them, how often we're going to give them and just kind of walk through the young horse. Let's start with the younger horses and then go to the mature ones.
Right, and so with young horses, we start vaccinating them, so foals, usually during weaning age. So 4 to 6 months of age is when we'd start vaccinating them.
Okay.
Because they're getting their immune system from the mama's colostrum when they're first born. So just like calf or some other species, they have the colostrum that's protecting them initially, and then we'll start boosting them later on. A lot of the other, dogs and cats, we start 4 to 6 weeks of age.
Right.
Just remember in horses, it's 4 to 6 months of age when we start vaccinating them. Give that first vaccine, a lot of owners forget to booster that vaccine in 1 month after the first insult of that vaccine. So you need and have to help with protection, all those vaccines need to be boosted in 1 month.
Okay, so on that first vaccine, or that first vaccination, you're going to give the core, give them all 4 of the core, the tetanus, eastern, western, rabies, and West Nile, and potentially give them the other risk-based. And then when you're going to come back a month later, you're going to do the exact same vaccines again.
Right, yeah, so you have to have that first one, and then you got to booster all those same ones in 1 month.
Very similar to what we do in cattle when we're like replacement heifers or animals that we're going to keep on the ranch. We're going to come in and we're going to vaccinate them at weaning and then come back and booster those breeding heifers.
Right.
What about the older horses? And I'll break it down into two, the mares and the other horses.
So with other horses, and again, consulting with your veterinarian is going to be very important on these. All these vaccines, though, especially the core vaccines, we need to get prior to the mosquito season. And so 1 month before we think mosquitoes are going to be out, we should be vaccinating those core vaccines, especially in the year. So when you're thinking about that, here in this region, it's going to be around April. In most areas, it's going to be around the April timeframe, March, April, maybe the beginning of May when we give that booster on those vaccines annually with those core.
Okay, so we're going to vaccinate annually and make sure we do it. And then on the mares, the difference between mares and these?
Yeah, with mares, making sure the vaccines are safe for pregnancy. Talk to your veterinarian. We have to stay away from the modified live type vaccines on these mares when they are pregnant because the vaccine itself could cause an abortion. So you want to make sure you give the safe vaccines and give them 30 days prior to foaling so it gets in the colostrum for the foal.
Perfect. Thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for watching Doc Talk. If you want to know more about what Dr. Blevins and I do here at K-State, you can find us on the web at www.vet.ksu.edu. Remember, always work with your local practitioner. I'm Dan Thompson. You've been watching Doc Talk. We appreciate it, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, Progress, powered by Kansas farmers. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamandkansas.com.